old school SWAT, everybody got in a line and walked behind each other or behind a shield, and that's just not realistic, because if somebody's going to shoot at you, it's very easy to hit people that are bunched up in a big ball. So how we do things now, well, basically everybody will be on line running up to the structure, and everybody has an area of responsibility. For example, if the guy on the far left knows that he needs to watch the left side of that structure, and then that door that's on the left side, that's his area of responsibility. Somebody comes out of that, he's got eyes on that door and he's ready to respond. Versus, you know, the far right window, far right guy knows that's his area of responsibility. So if somebody pops out with a gun, that's what he's focusing on. Once we get to the structure, depending on what the layout of the structure, exterior openings are, that'll dictate where we're going to approach the structure. Obviously, the side with the least amount of openings is going to expose us to the least amount of angles. So once we get up to the door and we've picked our entry point, or whatever the tactic is that we're going to be doing, breaking a window, placing a charge for a breach, that's how we approach that structure, is basically very quickly, and everybody has guns up and everybody's focusing on different things, so we have as many eyes on as many things as possible coming up to that structure. And we're also minimalizing our exposure moving through this open area, this transitional space up to the structure. If we're ready to move, we would communicate, you know, I've got the front door, whoever's on my left would pick up this door on the left side, and then they would know that there's two windows that need to be taken care of. So I'd call, I got front door, move to the front door. Be moving a little bit quicker than this. Everybody's focusing on their area of responsibility. Once we're here, we're, you know, meter off the wall, meter away from the door, there's a couple things we've got to be concerned about here. Obviously, any angles that we're exposed to. So that's why they're focusing down this wall. I'm focused on the door, he's focused on these windows. Now, before we go to commit to this threshold or commit to making entry into here, we own this space for the most part. We don't want to take all day out here because there's somebody could pop out and take a shot at us. But we're going to try to get as much eyes into that room as we can before we commit into it. I'm going to say, you ready to plate me up?
Ready.
So I'm going to start scanning this room from the outside, keeping plenty of space off of it while he's watching this window here. Because if he didn't watch that window for me, I'm focused on this threshold. Somebody could be in the deep corner of this room and I not see him, but I'm exposed to him. So basically, he's taking the responsibility of this window while I'm taking responsibility of this door.
Compressing the weapon.
Yep. So we're here. Both of us are ready to go. I've seen 80% of this room, and nothing stopped me from moving across. So that means 80% of this room looks good to me. He can see that deep corner there. I can see this, which is it's a corner-fed room. So I'm going to push my gun to let him know that I want to go first, because I've seen most of the room, so it would make sense for me to go into the room first. So once I do that, he's going to do some kind of an overt action with his gun, so I know that he's seen that. So I push, and he drops his barrel. So I'm going to shoot center in the room, get another snapshot, come in. All right, so we've all got to our points of domination. And points of domination in the room are basically positions in the room where people can get to. That way, if there's a threat anywhere in this room, the higher number, or the most possible number of guns can be up on that target. And how we do it is, if I utilize my laser here, put your gun out, Latham. So a meter off of his gun, I can be responsible for and take a shot if I need to. Off the tip of his gun. So the gun's here, meter off of that. So from there all the way to basically this corner is my responsibility. His responsibility is a meter off of my gun, a meter off of his gun, and then vice versa, and so on and so forth. So by doing this, if somebody's in this room, we can have potentially 4 guns in a fight as opposed to 1 or 2. So once we get to in this room and everybody gets to PODs, we don't see any threats in this room, we have to move through the next room. Obviously, there's only one opening in the room, so that's where everybody's going to know that we need to be going. So
That's very important. Before that, the rear man also has to make the adjustment. He's going to enter with his gun up into the room, and as soon as he checks his sector, he's coming out and he's orientating back out. I'll probably end up plating him up and maintaining this area here and protecting them, and so they can move forward.
Yeah. Team would be prepared to move to this room, so again, we're going to try to see as much as we can. Latham sees the most. I got a corner fed room. I can't see nothing but a wall, so he's going to take that. I'm right on his back. All right, now we got to open it in this. So now we're going to push up as much as we can. My muzzle's going to come up because I can't really do anything here. He's going to see what he can see. He's going to make the decision to go. He's going to shoot center, and he's going in the room. move? You got what?
Yep. No. Keep going.
All right. Room is clear. All right, so more or less we'll walk you through that. As we came in this room, again, you're going to your points of domination. This is a center fed room, so it's a little different than a corner fed. But again, you always want to check dead spaces. So behind this door, which is perfect where the target is. So if I come around this and I don't see anything here and I come here, there's a problem because there's a bad guy behind me. So if you come here and you know that dead space is there, check the door, come around, he's right here, he gets shot, and then I'm already at my point of domination basically. So I can see, this is a good example of how everybody, if they're in their points of domination, can get rounds on bad guys. So from here, I shot that target, and I think everybody else, did everybody else get one round on it?
I didn't shoot him.
I wasn't able to with him backing up.
I got you. Good. So, again, points of domination, room's clear, ready to move to the next one. This is kind of a tricky one. The way this kind of curls around into another room, there's no real good way to clear it, so we just kind of go shoulder to shoulder. Start with cross coverage, and we start to work this angle together. So he sees everything first, and then once we commit, because this is basically a threshold of the door right here. Once we commit, he decides to go that way. I punch around, I get my corner, there's nothing there. I get to my point of domination, I fan to the meter off of his rifle, and then there's this room's been cleared.
One key thing to remember is, yes, we've cleared this area back behind us, but depending on the structure, we may not be able to account for anybody coming back into that space. So as we move, whoever's rear needs to, when we make entry into the room, we check our sector. If it's clear, we engage, whatever. Once that's done, we revert back and we cover the team from the rear position.
That's pretty much it.
Biggest thing on discipline is actually pulling in the reins a little bit, because everyone wants to move fast, because I mean you're in an environment that you're unaware of or you're unfamiliar with, and there's a possible bad guy. So pulling those reins in and actually slowing people down is actually more difficult than getting them to speed up. The adrenaline's going and the body's just following that path. Breathing, you know, some people call it tactical breathing, in the nose, out the mouth, slowing it down a little bit, just kind of getting off of the fight or flight mechanism and saying, okay, I've got a job to do, let's focus on what that job is, and then just the training kicks in and the experience kicks in. So yeah, I think it's focusing on what your job is, and the continued repetitions. You've done this before, just focus on, you know, make sure your equipment's good, focus on what you're doing, and then it internally will say, okay, I've got this job to do, I've done this before, let's just calm down.
Another way that we help with operational mindset is when we're putting on training, we try to
You could probably speak on this more.
we try to make training as realistic as possible. You know, we throw real flashbangs. We use, you know, real explosive charges on doors. You know, we shoot live ammo around each other when we can. So we expose each other to those like real things. That way, you know, as opposed to, all right, we're just going to drop a, you know, soda can and pretend it's a bang, or we're going to do this, because when you're in an operation, that real flashbang goes off in that room. It's not the first time you've been exposed to that noise, so it doesn't have as much of an effect on you as it does the assailant. So we try not to artificialize as many things as we can. So our training is almost the real thing every time we train. So when we're in the real thing, it's almost familiar.
I'll expand on that a little bit, like just the amount of hours that you put in. We gotta do like a crawl, walk, run, get guys build up to it, build their confidence up, and there's a big difference into somebody going in without knowledge, wondering what they're needing to do, versus knowing exactly what they want to do because they've done it before. And having that confidence is one of the ways that you can maintain your calm and composure. Knowing that your weapons are good, knowing that your rifles are zeroed, knowing that your tactics are solid, knowing that the dudes that you're running with know what you're doing and what they're doing, and that confidence builds to a nice calmness and overall a more positive outcome.
Yeah, exactly what he said. Like if you have something go down, like if you don't train with your optic going down, then that's going to create a physiological response and a psychological response. It's going to get your heart rate elevated because, oh heck, man, my optic just went down. I've never shot with this optic off. You know, equipment malfunctions, somebody, you know, one of your buddies getting hit, or, you know, God forbid, or getting taken out of the equation for whatever reason, that's another thing that's going to up it. So there's a lot of things that you can mitigate. Some stuff you can't. So you just got to do your best, keep pushing on.
And having your team trained in a variety of roles, so you're not just a static individual, you're dynamic and you can take the lead if necessary, or you can fall into the stack wherever you need to do it. And that scenario-based training lets you kind of expand your knowledge and your experience, so you can better yourself and your team.
Yeah. And malfunction's a huge one. Yeah. How to manipulate a malfunction if it goes down in training and if it goes down in an op. You've got to be able to be fluid in that, because otherwise it's another thing that's going to increase your stress level. So
yeah, for years we were always taught. You guys have heard Cooper's color chart before, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Cooper. So white, yellow, orange, red, and black. Back to your question about slowing down and everything like this. It's real easy to get freaking amped up and be like, "Whoo! I want to take the fight to him." But sometimes you take that tactical pause, take that deep breath of air in through the nose, wake the brain up a little bit, get out of that bright red, get back down to a bright orange, and now you can get back into that tactical mindset to help you guys make the best decisions to be effective on target, and to mitigate, and control what you can control. And every aspect of that is the rehearsals. This is why rehearsals are so important. Knowing your gear, especially when you're introducing new gear, and especially when you're introducing like new people, and just really getting those reps in, hours and hours and hours. You'll train for an entire year for what, a 4-minute engagement, and that's where it's at. But the reason that you're going to come out of that 4-minute engagement successful is because of the work up to that point. This is where we say you don't rise to the occasion. You rise to the level of commitment and preparedness that you put in up to that point. That was good.